So, let's now look at a mixed operation situation. So, here we've got addition and multiplication, and we've got mixed numbers and just straightforward fractions. Before I start to calculate here, I need to be aware of something, which hopefully you've seen. Hopefully you've all seen BIDMAS before. It's a rule for the order of operations. Brackets first, then indices, then division or multiplication, then addition or subtraction. I think I've written BIDMAS differently to how you've seen it before, because I think you've seen it written like this, which puts multiplication after division. Let's have a look at whether that's necessary. Let's make that 10. So division comes first. So 4 divided by 2 first gives me 10 times 2. Make sure you keep everything else the same, which is 20. What would have happened if I had done the multiplication first? Because it doesn't actually matter. That would have been 40. Keep the rest the same. I see. So these inverse operations can be done in any order. Right, let's get back to our question. 2.5 plus 4/5 multiplied by 2/3. So I'm going to do what first? The addition or the multiplication? That's correct. I'm going to do the multiplication. So before I calculate that, I'm going to write everything else down on the next line so that it stays in the same place. And my sum here carries all of this down, with bits being worked out as I go. This prevents me having a sum over here, then changing and adding a step in. Like, for example, this. Some people will then write 2 times 4 equals 8, 10 take away 8 equals 2. This can get unclear, and if you deal with negative numbers and complicated sums, you can make mistakes very easily. Keep everything together, and it's much, much clearer. So, let's now do our multiplying our fractions. I can see here that actually there's going to be no cross-cancelling. That was simple. In fact, all I had to do here was watch out for my order of operations. 15 and 2 are my denominators, and if you remember adding fractions, we can only count our pieces together if they're the same size, which means our denominators need to be the same. Well, the 15 times tables, the second number is 30, and that's an even number, so it's definitely in the 2s. So I'm going to convert them both to out of 30. That means doubling both parts here, and it means here timesing both parts by 15. Well, 2 whole ones and 31/30ths isn't going to work as an answer. In fact, 30 pieces would make a whole one. So here, I've got 1 whole one and 1 piece left. So I'm going to add the whole one into my 2 and keep my 1 piece that's remaining. If anything there is unsure to you, go back and watch the adding and subtracting video. Right, let's tackle another one to see how we get on. Okay. So, lots of operations here. Which one do I do first? I've got indices, I've got multiplication, and I've got subtraction. So, indices it is. I need to remind myself now what squared means. It means the fraction multiplied by itself. So, 1/4 times 1/4. Well, there's no cancelling here, so it's 1 times 1 over 4 times 4. A reminder that everything else is just being brought down to the next line. Now, I've got subtraction and multiplication, so multiplication comes next. I make them both into improper, dealing with the mixed number. I can see there's no cross-cancelling here, so I'm just going to multiply them and get my answer. Now, 9 and 80. Wow, we've got a horrible pair here. 9 and 8 first meet at 72. So 9 and 80 first meet at 720. This I times by 9, and this I times by 80. If you're finding the numbers difficult, pause the video in between steps. I then do my subtraction, and if I need to, I work it out carefully longhand. Now, ultimately, there are lots of different ways you could be asked to do this. It's about repetition, it's about practice. Remember the order of operations, and then keep working at it. Remember, you can always check your answer on a calculator, which will follow the rules of BidMath. So my advice to you is, make some sums up for yourself, and check on a calculator.